Yeah, I wanted to comment a little bit on the word shitcoin because I think it's a very challenging word when you're first getting into the space. And I know it was for me when I got in like 2016, 2017. There were a lot of shitcoins, for lack of a better word, but it wasn't immediately obvious to me that that was the case. And I would argue with people. There were like projects coming out by famous people, right? One of them was like a basic attention token. It was the founder of JavaScript, very legitimate person in my eyes, coming from like the tech world, right? And people would be like, no, BAT is a shitcoin. And I would be saying like, what do you mean? But they're doing a thing, they're solving a problem, there's a problem with attention in the system, people need to be paid, whatever. And I think it's very easy to be misled because there are legitimate problems in technology and advertising, whatever, and you can solve them in different ways. And one of these ways is try to introduce this sort of token. And it's not immediately obvious that it is quote unquote a shitcoin. You have to kind of get deeper on like the monetary theory and what people do with those coins when they receive them. Do they keep them? Do they sell them? And it takes a while to understand that. So that word could be often used as a joke. And there's some obvious shitcoins. I mean, there's like outright scams, right? And it's very easy to say. But the ones that are not outright scams, I think that's the biggest challenge because it's not obvious that it's a scam until you understand the actual economics of the situation.
What is the scam, though? Is the scam the fact that these things are being built using a blockchain and that's completely unnecessary? Is the scam that these ideas are being pitched as requiring cryptography when they don't? What is the scam that's happening with these projects?
Well, there's nothing wrong with cryptography. Obviously, cryptography is an important part of this, and the word blockchain became this like sort of panacea word that covers a lot of different concepts, all of which are good. Immutability, good. Cryptography, good. Data sharing, potentially good. Right? All of these things are useful in business, but then they just said, okay, let's just take our hardest problem in our system and like slap the word blockchain on it, and somehow that's going to solve things. And as a part of that, they had to invent a token and say that this token was going to be really, really critical to this whole system functioning. But what it turns out is that these tokens are not critical. They're actually just used basically as unregistered securities to raise money, and then people pump and dump them. And if you're really early on a project and you're a VC and you get in early, you can dump it, make lots of money, even if that project has zero product market fit, doesn't solve any problems. And that's really what we see primarily in blockchain. And there's good people trying to solve good problems, but they see that word and they think it's going to solve the issue, but it just creates a new thing that people trade and pump and dump.
I think a key part of the scam is the desire for fast exit liquidity, right? So for example, in traditional VC, when you invest in a company or you're a founder of a company, you're intending to hold that for 5, 7, 10 years as this matures and becomes a self-sustaining actual company, right? But what we see in crypto land is basically the desire, basically short time preference, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, is that they want to be able to get out of the exposure, either the founders, the developers, or the early investors, a year, 2, 3 years into the project. They want to dump on retail before anything they built is any semblance of a sustainable company. And then they also want to accelerate the growth metrics by adding a degree of casino speculation among the customers. Right? So it's like if you look at Web3 things and you strip away the token, you say, what is the actual demand for that underlying thing, the way you built it? So if you kind of just go back over the whole space and say, okay, sure, peer-to-peer stuff is better to do, let's explore that field, but do you need a token? Why do you need a token? And that's, I think, what it comes down to. I would describe it as basically undeserved seniorage, right? So for example, Bitcoin maxims and that kind of thing, it's kind of the rejection of undeserved seniorage, whether it's fiat currencies, whether it's these crypto scam startups that want to reward themselves with money that they can then exit before the project is done. All of that is various shades of undeserved seniorage, and I think that's the core of the scam.